That's entertainment. You know, when you're a great fighter, or a great entertainer in general, you want the person to say, when do I see that person again? When's he gonna play again? When's he gonna fight again? You know, you gotta be able, if you can't put in seats, you're gonna get fired. You know.
Fight. And I have Crawford winning this fight. Crawford's gonna win this fight doing something that nobody's done to Canelo.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. And it didn't take me going to camp to know this.
Okay. So Israel Majamov says that if Terence Crawford bulks up, that's going to be the biggest mistake he can possibly make. And that's going to hinder him from being victorious against Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Mike Tyson recently reflected on his time training alongside Terence Crawford, stressing how crucial it is to remain composed ahead of a massive showdown with Canelo Alvarez. Tyson pointed out that the spotlight brings enormous pressure, but the toughest challenge isn't physical, it's mental. He noted that if Crawford can keep his mindset steady and not get consumed by the moment, he'll be able to execute at the highest level and make the path to victory appear far more achievable.
You know, fighters, pressure, right? Pressure's not being hit. You know, everybody think pressure's like getting on stage. No, pressure's the thought of being hit. And that's how they fall. The thought is go, I'm not hitting that hard, but they think I am.
Right. So
it's all psychological.
Are you, when you're walking to the ring, are you noticing anything, or are you so locked in?
I see everything moving. Every person, every girl. I see everything.
Dude, your walk-ins would last longer than the fights sometimes.
Do anyone have a napkin on my towels? And I'm sweating like a pimp on one hole up here.
You're sweating.
We will get you one.
You're sweating.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're sweating like Charles Barkley at a spelling bee.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sweating pretty hard there too.
Exactly. So Mike, we all know you hit hard. Who was the first person that when they hit you was like, oh, okay, this guy hits pretty hard?
Amir Khan, a veteran of the sport who has shared the ring with Canelo Alvarez, recognizes just how massive a showdown between Canelo and Terence Crawford would be. Khan praises Canelo's greatness and wealth of experience, but also emphasizes that Crawford carries legitimate knockout power. With Crawford adding size and adjusting to a higher weight class, Khan views him as more dangerous than ever. He insists this isn't a fight where one man clearly outshines the other. Both fighters possess elite skills capable of changing the fight in an instant. While Khan respects Canelo's proven dominance at the heavier divisions, he warns that Crawford's adaptability and hunger to rise to new challenges make this matchup highly unpredictable.
Did that to Canelo after, so to your point, can Crawford do the same? Coming up from 54 and 47, can he, or will that, throw off the catch and shoot? I was gonna catch and shoot.
You're not catching and shoot.
Make me think.
You're not catching and shoot.
We're catching it, resetting, and getting out of this range for a minute or two.
My fight with Arrow, I came back to the corner. I had a look on my face, I guess. And my dad said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." Like, classic Sean, nothing. He said, "Sean, tell me what's wrong." I said, "My legs are kind of tight." He said, "Your legs kind of tight." He looked back, looked behind him. He would always do this and look back at the other corner. I don't know why. He looked back at them.
It was a habit, probably.
He said, all right, we're not gonna use our legs so much this round. And I was thinking to myself, like, I need these legs.
I'm not trying to wear these shots.
Yeah. So to your point, when there's a feeling, when
the nervous system goes out,
where does that adjustment take place? Do you trust the adjustment? Do you implement it? So that next round I did settle down a little more. I was
lost around.
Whatever. Hello.
I don't even know what round is. Chill out.
You don't even know what round it is. Pour this water on you. So we got some time until this fight. So we ain't gotta pour it all out at one time. We'll work our way up to this one.
Try to get on big guests to lead up to the fight.
Expect some more very, very big guests, and expect some very, very big things from the Puerto Rico podcast the week of Crawford versus Canelo versus Crawford. Takes place here. What is that? September 6th?
13th. I was just gonna say, I've been critical of the fight because I felt like it serves as a foreground to the Ali Act stuff.
Many analysts have pointed out the lingering concerns about Terence Crawford's age and limited experience at higher weight divisions. By the time this potential clash with Canelo Alvarez takes place, Crawford will likely be 38 years old, an age where even the best fighters inevitably feel the effects of time. Although he moved up to 154 pounds to face Israil Madrimov, that single outing hasn't fully convinced critics that he's truly prepared to handle someone as established at the heavier classes as Canelo. In boxing, age isn't just a number, it affects speed, reflexes, endurance, and recovery, all vital when stepping in against a relentless fighter. While Crawford's skills remain elite, skeptics argue his body may not respond the way it once did. They see this matchup as the most difficult challenge of his career, one that will test him not only technically, but also physically and mentally, given the magnitude of the fight and the opponent across the ring.
Being successful, September 13th, Las Vegas, Nevada, Allegiant Stadium, when he takes on another first ballot Hall of Famer, 4-division world champion, 2-time undisputed world champion, and reigning undisputed super middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is 63 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 wins by way of knockout. Terence Crawford had one fight at 154. That was against Israil Madrimov, the WBA junior middleweight world champion, right? And since then, Terence Crawford has moved up now to 168 to challenge Canelo Alvarez, okay? And so prior to that, he spent 5 years at what? Welterweight. So the concern that people have for Terence Crawford, rightfully so, is that Terence Crawford will be 38 years of age 2 weeks after the fight. So he's 37, okay? Terence Crawford has one fight at 154. Prior to that, Terence Crawford has been competing, okay, since 2018 for the last 7 years at 147. Since June of 2018, he's been fighting at 147. His only fight outside of that division in the last 5 to 6 years was his fight against Israil Madrimov at 154, which he won, unanimous decision. I thought he handily won, but people thought that he struggled. Israil Madrimov is now 10 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 7 wins by way of knockout because he lost his last fight to Mexican superstar, WBC junior middleweight interim champion Virgil Ortiz Jr.
Terence Crawford and his camp have repeatedly stressed how focused and deliberate their preparation has been for a potential clash with Canelo Alvarez. They've made it clear that they've studied the mistakes of Jermell Charlo, whose game plan fell apart against Canelo, and are determined not to repeat them. Crawford has firmly stated that he is not Charlo. His unique style, discipline, and high-level ring IQ make him a completely different challenge. His trainers have been crafting a strategy built on movement, accuracy, and carefully managed pacing, knowing that raw power alone won't be enough to overcome Canelo. Their goal is to neutralize Canelo with sharp defense, frustrate him by limiting exchanges, and then strike back with precise counters. Training camp has been grueling, featuring intense conditioning and sparring sessions specifically structured to replicate Canelo's pressure and punching strength.
Team Crawford just revealed that they're currently working on making sure that the Omaha native doesn't end up like Jermell Charlo this coming September 13th when he faces Canelo Alvarez. Now this report comes from Boxing Scene, wherein it was just revealed by somebody from Crawford's camp that Terence Crawford is, quote, wary of repeating the mistake that former 154-pound champion Jermell Charlo made to a new weight limit without consideration of other factors. Boxing Scene further elaborated by saying that Crawford wants to retain his ability to fight with fluidity, maximizing the effectiveness of his power punches from both hands and ability to fight from a southpaw stance. With that said, Crawford's camp is now on full lockdown from the media or any sort of distraction up until fight week. Now, it's definitely worth considering that while it's...
Many boxing analysts have raised concerns about the challenges that come with moving up in weight. Gaining size often means sacrificing key attributes like speed and agility, qualities that have long defined Terence Crawford's style. Recent photos of Crawford appearing noticeably bigger have fueled speculation about how the extra bulk might affect his performance. Of course, experts remind fans that images can sometimes be misleading due to lighting or camera angles. Still, the core question remains, can Crawford maintain the quickness, reflexes, and fluidity that give him his edge? Extra muscle may bring more power, but it often comes at the cost of stamina and flexibility, two areas that could prove critical against a physically imposing opponent like Canelo Alvarez.
The man is simply human. I mean, the more you age and the more weight you gain, of course you're going to be slower. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't be an elite fighter anymore. No, of course not. When you talk about special fighters like Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, they can handle themselves against anyone on any given night in the worst circumstances possible. That is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get back into the discussion when it comes to Terence Crawford carrying the 168 division, when it comes to the 168 pound weight. So if you actually think about it, Terence Crawford, how is the man looking right now? I know, yes, I know that we have seen the new pictures of Crawford with him looking absolutely massive, but I actually talked about this in one of my previous videos, ladies and gentlemen, which you can go back and check out. Terence Crawford, don't let these pictures fool you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let these pictures fool you. Yes, of course Terence Crawford gained weight, but the pictures make it seem like Terence Crawford looks like a heavyweight. Let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, the lighting and the pump and the angle, everything plays a part in how you look in pictures. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. I can show you 2 pictures of me taken within 24 hours, and in one picture, my physique looks completely different than the other picture. One picture I can take after having a unbelievable workout, with a nice sweat on, with a nice pump, with some nice lighting, and a nice angle. I would look completely different than when I look right now, or getting out of bed, which I just did.
Veteran trainer Abel Sanchez has been blunt in his assessment of a potential Canelo versus Crawford clash. In his view, the fight would look more like a sparring session than a true contest. Sanchez argues that Crawford, despite his brilliance, is simply undersized when compared to Alvarez. He emphasizes that Canelo's natural strength, physicality, and extensive experience at higher weight classes create too steep of a gap for Crawford to bridge. While Sanchez acknowledges Crawford's skill and accomplishments, he insists that talent alone cannot always overcome the sheer physical realities of the sport.
Crawford, quote, "It will be a sparring session for Saul Canelo Alvarez." Coach Abel Sanchez dismissed Crawford's chance against Canelo, and it's really because of the weight gain. Renowned Mexican trainer Abel Sanchez has reignited the hype surrounding Canelo Crawford, scheduled September 13th, Las Vegas. Speaking to the ring, Gennady Golovkin trainer says, quote, "Crawford is a great fighter, but that's why weight divisions exist. Canelo has proven that when he moves up, he faces and beats the best in each category. Neither Bivol could hurt him, nor could my fighter in 2 fights." And he's talking about Golovkin. And even though Canelo and Golovkin fought 3 times, Abel did not train him for the 3rd fight. It was Jonathan Banks. So that's why he said in the 2 fights that he's familiar with, he's saying that Golovkin never really hurt Canelo. The weight jump, the big disadvantage. Crawford, undefeated record. He's 41-0, 31 knockouts. Agreed to move up to 168, blah, blah, blah. And he says, quote, "If Crawford had taken 3 or 4 years to gain strength and mass properly, he would have a better chance. But doing it in just over a year is too risky. He'll be slower and Canelo will dictate the pace." Now, this is a recent picture of Crawford, who definitely looks in shape. And, you know, that's what we come to expect from a guy like Crawford.
Former world champion Chris Algieri offers a more skeptical take on the hype surrounding the potential showdown. While many fans and promoters are billing it as one of the biggest fights in modern boxing, Algieri isn't fully convinced. He believes that although the matchup is intriguing, it falls short of being considered one of the all-time greats. In his view, legendary bouts featured prime fighters meeting on even terms, whereas this contest has clear disparities. Algieri cautions that the excitement may be inflated, since Crawford is entering uncharted territory against an opponent who has already proven himself in higher divisions.
I love it, because I have a lot of casuals who go to me and like, "Man, I can't wait for this fight. This is the best matchup that can be made." And I'm like, no, it's not. It's certainly not. Definitely not. Definitely not the best fight that can be made right now. I can think of a dozen fights that I would rather see And a lot of them include Inoue against a bunch of different guys that I would rather see over this fight. But casual fans don't care that much about 122-pound guys who fight across the world in Japan. They care about big names and characters. But at the end of the day, when you look at this on paper, Crawford's 38, Canelo's 35. Neither looked very impressive in their last fight. They're still 3 weight classes apart. That has not changed, because, and Crawford hasn't fought in a year plus. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of poo-pooing of this on paper. So I'm glad somebody says it. So thank you.
He didn't say his name. Yeah,
I like this guy. He came out there and just said his piece and left.
That's the type of guy that definitely calls in the WFAN here in New York. It's like, we need Boone fired. The Yankees suck. I don't look forward to anything. But,
what's up with that bullpen?
Yeah,
all right, I'm out of here.
I'm out. I'll hang up and listen. But yes, like you said, there are a bunch of fights you'd rather see. There are a bunch of fights I'd rather see both these guys in rather than the one we're getting. Like, I'd rather see.
That's a great way to put it too.
Yeah, Boots versus Crawford. I'd rather see Canelo versus Benavidez, Canelo versus Bivol, Canelo versus anyone at 168 of these top 5 there.
What about Virgil and Crawford? I like that fight. That got mentioned at one point.
Absolutely. I mean, but this is how boxing works. We'll all be excited on September 13th because it is a big event. We've talked about this numerous times on the show. We need big events, at least 1 or 2 of them a year, to stay relevant as a sport. It's on Netflix. We're all going to be excited that week heading into it. Maybe even that guy.
Hey, Dan and Chris. Love the show. This is Nero calling from Hollywood. I was wondering, with so many people taking Bud Crawford to win, I think at one point it felt like a hot take, and now it's becoming sort of a standard take. I hope this isn't too much of an abstract question, but can you think of another time where someone chose what seemed to be a hot take and then become the regular take? And what was the result of that fight? Personally, I think it's a bridge too far for Bud Crawford, and I think people are underestimating Canelo, but who knows?
Boxing analyst Shobies the Adult points out the clear difference in the level of competition both fighters have faced throughout their careers. He argues that the opponents Crawford has defeated would likely struggle against the type of challengers Canelo Alvarez has consistently gone up against. This comparison underscores a major gap in resumes. Canelo has built his legacy by taking on champions across multiple weight classes, often defeating some of the sport's biggest names. Crawford, despite remaining undefeated, has not been tested against the same volume of elite-level threats. That said, the narrative isn't one-sided. While some critics accuse Canelo of occasionally avoiding the most dangerous matchups, his supporters push back, noting that nearly all of his opponents have been established champions with strong reputations. By most measures, however, Canelo's path has featured tougher opposition overall, whereas Crawford's record, though perfect, does not boast the same depth of high-profile competition.
Name the fighters Crawford fought who would beat Triple G. That Spence that Crawford fought, that Kell Brook that Crawford fought, that Sean Porter that Crawford fought, would any of them beat Callum Smith at 168? I'm not sure how many fighters Crawford fought would beat the Miguel Cotto that Canelo fought. This is what I'm trying to say. When it comes to skill, experience has a lot to do with it. Case in point, you get an Austin Trout, you get a Caleb Plant, you get a Lara, you get a Floyd Mayweather, you get a Bivol. Just those 5, when it comes to experience, gives him the right experience that when he fights Crawford, he's not like, I don't know what this is like. There's not one fighter Crawford fought that would give him the experience against Canelo.
Recent reports and training clips highlight just how committed Crawford is to preparing for this massive test. His camp has been built around strength work, high-level sparring, and conditioning routines designed to maximize stamina. He's also been incorporating new methods to help absorb heavier shots and handle the extended exchanges expected when facing Canelo Alvarez, but his preparation isn't just physical. Crawford's team has placed equal emphasis on discipline and mental composure, knowing that the psychological side of the sport can be just as critical as conditioning. The center of the debate is one reality: Crawford must find a way to neutralize Canelo's relentless, methodical approach. Crawford's footwork and defensive skills remain elite, but Canelo has made a career out of staying patient, waiting for the slightest mistake, and capitalizing. Against Errol Spence, Crawford put on a masterclass, but Spence lacked the size, power, and calculated patience that Canelo brings to the table.
And that usually breaks them down. So with some fighters, I see is that they think that Canelo is easy work because of the fact that he's flat-footed and he just kind of like, he does basic, I would say. He has basic skills, but he's really good at those basic fundamental skills. He does everything almost like perfect. But yeah, he's flat-footed, but you got to realize that he also has hell of a head movement and body movement. He understands and he's perfected at rolling with the punch thing. He's been rolling with punches like just to take off the steam off the punches.
Former champion Kell Brook has weighed in on the potential clash, explaining why he favors Canelo Alvarez. While Brook acknowledges Crawford's dominant win over Errol Spence, he emphasizes that Spence is not on the same level as Canelo. The Mexican superstar combines power, ring intelligence, and experience in a way Crawford has never faced before. Canelo has repeatedly shown that he can excel in higher weight divisions, defeating bigger and stronger opponents with a mix of skill and strategy. Brook argues that although Crawford's technical ability is world-class, it may not be enough to offset the advantages Canelo brings in size, strength, and tactical awareness. In his view, this could end up being the toughest challenge of Crawford's entire career, as he faces a fighter who is complete in nearly every department.
You've got to sway towards Canelo. Crawford's going to have to, move up, and, I knew when I boxed Golovkin, there's a big difference, especially with someone that, fighting a middleweight, a mediocre world champion's okay. But when you're fighting someone like, Canelo or Golovkin, it's a different kettle of fish, I have to lean towards Canelo, but, Crawford's very, very, very good.
You think Crawford's still got the legs? Obviously, he's very much got great IQ in the ring, but he's very much a good mover as well. Do you feel like he's still got the legs to be maybe out-moving Canelo if he needs to?
Well, I don't know. I think when we look back at Mayweather when he beat Canelo, he's a mover. Crawford's not really like Mayweather in that aspect. It's like he's more, he kind of sets his feet. He's just he's cute with how he approaches chucking shots and moving. You know what I mean? I think it's a different fight to Mayweather, and Canelo's obviously a different fighter from when he boxed Mayweather.
That's all for now, fight fans. Stick around, because the next video is coming soon.